There's set to be plenty of high-octane action on the streets of Newcastle in November, but could something like this also feature? According to Labor councillors, the answer is yes. Formula E racing has already taken global cities by storm, including London.
Why not take the same opportunity here in Newcastle? We know the Newcastle 500 is coming. It's going to be a great event. It could be made even better if it was to include an electric vehicle race.
A motion to include an electric vehicle race will be put forward at tonight's meeting. With just 6 months until the inaugural Newcastle 500, Councillor Declan Clausen believes it could be featured from 2018 and beyond. He believes it would be a positive for the city.
It showcases something new to a pre-existing audience. It also highlights what the city has to offer.
Meanwhile, Greens councillors say it's time Newcastle Council reconsidered its position on the supercars event entirely. They've put forward a motion for council to withdraw its support, citing health and safety concerns.
Now that we know what the track is going to be, now that we know what's involved in staging a supercar race, it is far too dangerous.
Renee Feder, NBN News. Leaving the port after a special visit to her namesake. HMAS Newcastle was farewelled this afternoon after spending 4 days in the city. The ship's 200 crew members and officers featured heavily in Anzac Day services to honour the men and women serving our country.
It is very special for them. It's probably the last time we'll see the Newcastle in an operational basis because the ship is probably going to pay off late next year.
Around 16 events were held across Newcastle in the days leading up to and on Anzac Day. The Nobby's Beach Dawn service, once again a highlight. It was initially thought 40,000 people attended, but that's now estimated to be more like 57,000.
And that's because we've set the setup site a little bit differently than we have in previous years with the screens in different locations, so people utilise the site better.
President of the Newcastle RSL sub-branch, Ken Fail, says he's blown away by the support.
When I marched with the Vietnam veterans, they were saying they have never seen so many people lining the street. And then the service in Civic Park, probably the biggest attendance we've had since the 1950s.
Planning for the final year of the centenary is already underway. Organisers are promising 2018 will deliver.
There is lots to look forward to for the 100 years, yes, absolutely.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
I would like to see playground, fairy lights, different things that bring families to a street that Hamilton's all about.
Written on his wrist since the start of the campaign, Nathan Ross can't understand why clubs don't want their players in City Country.
I would have sat down and explained to Nathan how much it would mean to me as a player and how much it would mean to me as a person. I know that back in the day it was more seen as a trial for Origin, but to be able to play representative football at any chance should be a goal of every player in the competition. and I could keep harping on it. It'd be a massive honour for me and it'd be a massive thing on my bucket list if I get it.
Thankfully, the Knights won't stand in his way, and after scoring 6 tries in his 7 games, he's in the frame for selection.
I just got to keep my work rate up and finish off those tries and hopefully have another good showing this weekend and might get a phone call from Freddie.
Danny Levi is another Knight eyeing off representative honours. His name has been thrown around in the New Zealand side for the Anzac Test.
It's a bit of an honour to even be thrown around in it, but at the moment my focus is still here, trying to hold my spot, trying to improve each week and trying to get some wins on the board because we're definitely in need for some.
Newcastle's only win came against Saturday's opponents, the Gold Coast, in round 2. Levi says the key to repeating that is correcting the simple mistakes.
They're actually hitting some form at the moment, so they're not going to be an easy side to go against. They're going to be a lot tougher than last time.
Joe Wardle is the favourite to replace the injured Mitch Barnett for the clash after missing last week through his own ankle injury. He loves Newcastle, but the Englishman says it has been a struggle to get up to speed, particularly after surgery in the pre-season.
It's a lot harder than what people expect, a lot harder. To be honest, I didn't expect it to be as hard as what it is. With coming in a year early, it was just a bonus being here. So I'm just trying to play as much as I can, learn what I can whilst I'm here at the minute, and then hopefully next year I can kick on fully.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
It's been a very friendly game so far. It's what we call a fun day, so it's not very serious.
Former Catholic priest Vince Ryan and former Marist brother Francis Cable were excused from appearing in Newcastle local court today. Their matters were mentioned separately but briefly this morning. 84-year-old Cable, who's in custody, wasn't required to appear before Magistrate Cruz, and his solicitor didn't apply for bail. Cable was charged with 14 counts of aggravated indecent assault in March by officers attached to Strikeforce Georgiana. Also known as Brother Romuald, Cable is accused of assaulting 5 boys at Hamilton between 1971 and 1974. Meanwhile, former Maitland Newcastle Catholic Diocese priest Vince Ryan, who is on bail, also had his matter adjourned. He's facing 6 offences, including 3 counts of indecent assault on a male, 2 counts of sexual assault or indecent act with a person under 16 years, and 1 count of attempted sexual intercourse with a child between 10 and 16 years. Those charges relate to the alleged indecent assaults committed against 3 boys at a school in Merriweather in the 1970s and another school in Cessnock in the late 1980s. Both Cable's and Ryan's matters will return to court in June.
An inaugural window shop, Stockland Greenhills bringing out the big wigs to open up its newest section. Today, a first look at the centre's $412 million expansion, and the community was there to inspect it from bottom to top.
Look, we've been overwhelmed by the numbers. It was just a soft launch for us today, but I think there's some real sort of pent-up enthusiasm from the local community here.
It's all up from here, with retail space for Hoyts and David Jones the next in line for construction. The works are currently ahead of schedule and are expected to be complete by the middle of next year.
The overall footprint of the site is pretty much 7 football fields side by side. So it's a very large area footprint. We'll deliver at the end of the day probably about 74,000 square metres, which is a lot of retail.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News. On the market, but out of reach. It's a reality all too familiar for Heather DeLoster, who has considered living in her car to save money on rent.
It's sad because I probably wouldn't be able to handle university, so I'd be homeless and not getting an education at all.
The student was forced to leave home at 16 and says the stress of finding a place to live is exhausting.
My lease ends at the end of the year and I'm already looking at somewhere that's suitable.
The issue highlighted in research commissioned by Samaritans, finding affordable rental options are few and far between in the region.
And affordability we define as being 30% or up to 30% of their disposable income. If they have to pay anything more than that, then we consider that puts them into housing stress.
Out of over 1,000 properties analysed in the Hunter, the Samaritans found only 5 were affordable for a single parent and 0 were accessible for those on youth allowance. The charity is calling on the federal government to commit to solving the problem in next month's budget.
We are really keen to see an increase in the capacity of appropriate, accessible housing, particularly for those that are vulnerable in the community.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
the overcrowding of that particular school, the fact that there's 20 home bases and 15 demountables, and in the context of the government's announcement today that there was going to be a $5 billion plan for schools, we want to make sure that that money's coming to Maitland.
The outcome will be realistic training opportunities that are cutting edge, industrially relevant, and be able to produce job outcomes very, very quickly.
Enjoying his first dose of sunshine after days in vet care, Hugo seems unaware of his sorry state. His protruding ribs and backbone make for an alarming sight. Hard to believe his condition has actually improved since going into RSPCA care a week ago.
Hugo himself has actually picked up really well. He's put on just over 4 kilos since we've had him, and signs are positive that he should recover quite well.
He weighed just 16.9 kilos when he was found dumped in the overnight kennels at the Muswellbrook Pound. As a Ridgeback cross, he should be tipping the scales at over 30. So what happened to Hugo? The RSPCA is appealing for information to find out.
The condition of this dog's appalling. It's not just a stray dog that's been wandering. This dog looks like it's been without food for a long, long time.
Hugo is only a young dog, maybe a year old, and in spite of what he must have been through, he appears to have a friendly nature, partial to a back scratch. His future depends on his recovery and the result of investigations, but authorities are hopeful.
He recovers fully in his condition, and behaviourally and medically he's fine. We'll look to find him a new home.
The RSPCA is urging anyone who knows anything about Hugo to call its confidential animal cruelty line.
He was in here, I think, maybe a week after his operation, trying to push in the boundary every single week, running on the Alter-G machine and doing stuff that I guess I haven't seen other players do. So it's a huge credit to him as a person and the dedication that he's put into his recovery and rehab. And to see him moving out there, he's a lot lighter now. And I think once he does come back into the full-time team, the NRL is going to see a Paulie 2.0.
I was lucky enough to be involved in the development process of it, have a look at the track in its raw form and in just the streets and stuff, and we tuned it up a little bit, and I think the track is going to be one of the best that we go to. The great thing about Newcastle, the fans are so passionate and they're starving for sport, and we've done a launch up there and we've got 3,000 plus people just turn up to look at the launch.
Considering how busy the last few months have been, Cote Fernley has earned some downtime. The crazy stretch started in March with the honour of delivering the Commonwealth Games baton through the streets of London.
Entering into Buckingham Palace and presenting it to Her Majesty, mate, it was a pretty strange experience.
Having met her before, the big question is, did Queen Elizabeth remember him?
Oh, of course, I'm a pretty memorable bloke.
Fernley was back in the Northern Hemisphere a few weeks later, taking 4th at the Boston Marathon as Switzerland's Marcel Hug won in record time. He then returned to London, finishing that marathon behind another great rival, David Weir.
It's the exact same podium finish as what I got in the London Paralympic Marathon. Gee, what's that, 5 years ago now? with Dave winning, Marcel second and myself third.
At 36, Fernley can still mix it with the best. There's no plan to retire yet, but he knows success won't last forever.
I love getting to the start line and I love being able to do what I do, and you know, I think over time I'm going to have to get more and more comfortable with finishing a marathon and not finishing a marathon in front.
For now, the goal is qualifying for the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast, something that's taken on extra significance after being part of the bid process, the Technical Advisory Committee and Queen's Baton launch.
Now all I feel I've got to do is make that start line, mate, and I will have had one of the most complete journeys in any sort of event that I've ever been a part of.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
They've been teammates since they were kids, but Stephen Kewen and Matt Morantz have never played in a place like this.
I think still it's been snowing at home, so we picked a pretty good time to make it up here.
He's a good friend to experience a new part of the world together and just run around and have some fun and hopefully win a championship.
From Calgary on Canada's west coast to Warners Bay, the pair are two of the North Stars' newest stars, getting their first taste of the Australian Ice Hockey League last weekend, two narrow losses to Adelaide and Perth.
We're still getting to know each other and stuff. From what I can tell, we have a pretty great locker room in there, so it comes with time.
We're all adjusting, just getting to know each other, and obviously we lost 2 one-goal games last week, and we actually put a couple good periods together, but we just need to come home and play well together, and we'll get a few wins this weekend.
Saturday will be the first home game of the season, and it's almost a sellout. The North Stars have a strong record at their own rink, and they're hoping it can continue against the Sydney Bears and then the Canberra Brave on Sunday.
I've heard lots about the rivalry this weekend, so pretty happy that I get to experience it.
I was nervous as hell, but it was a massive accomplishment for me. And then recently coming back over from the Auckland Nines, and that's kind of lifted me back up, and I'm really excited to be in my second test match. If the big girl's running at me, I'm just like, if I think I can stop her, I know I can stop her. So size to me, I'm just like, it's fine. I know I'm small, but I'll do what I can.
If you live or work in the city, you probably already know how tough it can be to find a park. And soon you may also be paying more for the privilege. Under a council plan, parking fees in parts of the city would rise, including the mall car park on King Street, which would go from $2.70 for the first hour to $4. The plan also includes a new $25 fee for special event parking, while all-day parking in some areas would increase from $9 to $10. Residents with permits would also be affected, with existing holders slugged an extra $4 a year. The Hunter Business Chamber says any change to parking fees needs to be part of an overall CBD strategy. As for the Lord Mayor,
I'm not looking at changing any parking fees at this stage.
She wants the state government to come good on its promised integrated transport plan before considering any rise.
That's why we put it out to the community to get their feedback, but I'm not interested in any wholesale changes unless they're part of an integrated transport plan, which is active transport, buses, light rail, cycling.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
So it's encouraging a lot more of the occupants to actually be walking and cycling to work instead of having more cars on the street.
The supercars are rapidly approaching. Still 6 months out, and supporters will be able to get their first taste at a fan day tomorrow.
It's a great opportunity to come down, get their autograph, selfies for the younger folks, and actually really get some up close and personal time with the people that they'll watch, get around the streets in November.
Fans will get early access to tickets, and they're not the only ones who are pumped.
It's certainly exciting for us to meet a lot of the Newcastle locals that are going to come to the race later in the year and get tickets and start getting excited.
Not everyone's a fan though. Some continue to voice their concerns on a number of fronts. The East End Residents Group, which have been contesting this event from the very start, say local businesses have been completely overlooked.
Should have looked into the effect that it's going to have on the businesses. I don't think they even realise that they have 130 businesses in the area. It just hasn't been considered. They've never run a race in an area like this before.
But supercars say the proper steps are being taken to make everyone happy.
We're now working through each individual, sort of complaint, if you like, and so we have a full-time liaison manager, and there's obviously other resources both with Destination New South Wales and local council.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
On the water, these athletes show no fear. And why would they? In their everyday lives, they've already conquered so much more. Former world champion American Kerry Vanderboom hitting life's obstacles head on.
The guy who invented the disabled water ski, Royce Andes, he lived about 10 minutes from where I grew up, and so I was pretty fortunate that he took me out to ski.
She's married to an Aussie, so she's got quite a diverse fan base in Myuna Bay this weekend for the World Disabled Water Ski Championships.
Does it take them a lot of work?
It's unbelievable. They dedicate quite a lot of time to it, quite a lot of money.
44 skiers from 10 countries. Their stories just as inspiring as their skills.
I had an accident in snow skiing in 2004. When I am on the water, I just feel free.
You get to push yourself every day. Even if you jump further, you can jump further the next day, and you can learn a new trick, and you can get another buoy on the slalom course.
Finals get underway tomorrow. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
He's been one of the night's best. So it's no surprise rival clubs are circling the off-contract Origin star.
My manager's dealing with all that.
Is there no time frame on when a lot of players want to have things settled early, some players don't mind having it till late?
I'm just worried about what I'm doing here now. This is where I'm at, and this is where all my focus is at.
Earlier this week, Nathan Brown was confident of Newcastle's chances.
And I know Gags is more keen on the idea of staying, so we would have to say that we're definitely in with a decent chance anyway.
You got to enjoy where you're at. If you don't really enjoy where you're at, I guess there's not really any point staying. But I love Newcastle. It's a beautiful place. The team's heading in the right direction, and but like I said, they'll sort that out.
The side flew north today, well aware of what it needs to do to again beat the Titans.
I don't think the issue's the end of the game. I think the issue's at the start. I think there was one period there where we only had 40% of the possession, they had 60. We end up making 100 more tackles than them. And at the back end of the game, if you're making that many more tackles, it's just natural that you're going to be a lot more fatigued.
There's been plenty of talk about Jared Haynes' return. Ken Seo knows him better than most, having played together at the Eels.
Playing alongside him, it was awesome. Just the talent he has and he brings to the team. So no doubt he'll be good for them, but it's our job to contain him.
Meanwhile, the Knights this afternoon confirmed Mitch Barnett won't require surgery on his ankle. He'll still be out for 6 weeks.
It looks like the track has a lot of elevation, which normally for a street course is not really common. So I think that'd be quite cool. And with the supercar, we're going quite fast. So I think it'll be a good spectacle around here. I didn't really put a goal or anything like that. To me, the biggest thing was really to improve every race, and so far we've been doing that. And at the end of the day, I think if we do our job correctly on the racetrack, the results should come.
All packed, ready to go and bring home the silverware for the first time in 5 years.
The team we've got together, I'm really positive that we can come back with the Corbel Cup.
For the past 2 years, the Newcastle Hunter Wildfires have fallen just short, going down to Illawarra in both deciders.
Some people don't play their natural games in grand finals. It's the tension of the game, the occasion gets the players, and it's similar now. It's like we have a grand final, the Corbel Cup, yet we have no long-term teamwork and no combinations to fall back on, so it's not like a club grand final at all. It's a really, really tough game to win.
The side has been working hard to overcome that hurdle. They've managed to train consistently alongside their club sessions in the lead up to the event and even played a trial game in Sydney. The result, a big win.
That's what's probably been our problem the last couple of years when we haven't won, is that the combinations haven't been there, and it's a really tough, intense final, the Corbel Cup, so it's important that we have some combinations ready to go.
Yeah, it was about time, to be honest. A couple of low scores wasn't pleasing, and then a first ball duck a couple of days ago wasn't too great either. But yeah, look, it was good enough to contribute to the team. But more importantly, the boys got the win. The bowlers bowled great, and it was all-round team performance.
The grass is a little different to Australia and New Zealand and stuff like that, but sort of just around the greens, just a few different shots you have to work on and just get your feel back again, because I haven't really been up in Asia for probably 6 months now. So obviously out of Q School you don't get too many starts early, but played a few, got lucky that I got into Perth through Australia and played okay there, so yeah, the game feels good.
If there was ever any doubt over community support for the Newcastle 500, it's now long gone. Hunter residents turning out in the thousands today to get their hands on the first round of tickets. The lines snaking some 400 metres from outside Customs House and past the old railway sheds. Most were happy.
It's just one of those things. It's the first one in Newcastle, so, willing to wait to get the tickets.
It looks like a really good community event. There's a big turnout and it seems like everyone's pumped.
Very excited, mate.
It's unreal.
It's good to see the support.
Others not.
Yeah, it was pretty long. It was pretty slow, actually.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're waiting at the window for probably about 20-25 minutes with a few issues, not getting the right tickets.
Regardless, the sports stars were feeling the love.
I think we all can't wait to come here in November, so it's cool that the fans are so excited and as excited as we are.
It's been a massive turnout. This is probably one of the biggest turnouts we've had to a launch.
Organisers say the demand for tickets today was so high, the offer for locals will extend for another week.
Today is a great show for us that the community wants this event, and what an incredible sort of economic stimulus it will be for the region.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
They spilled across every corner of the showground, 20,000 people getting their groove on. For what was once again a sold-out show.
It sold out in a couple of hours actually. We were very surprised. It's an amazing result.
Groove in the Moo playing host to an all-star lineup of Australian and international acts. US band Against Me had the crowd going earlier this afternoon. The party is set to continue into the evening for the headline artists.
The Wombats have been everyone's very excited about them. The Smith Street Band, Amy Shark, the new superstar of Australian music.
Now in its 13th year in Maitland, this is just the second stop on the festival's national tour. Revellers travelling from not only the Hunter, but Sydney and the Mid-North Coast to see their favourite bands.
It's awesome. Good lineup, good people. See Dylan Francis.
Milky Chance, definitely, and Dylan Francis.
And as in past years, a strong police presence is keeping watch on the crowd.
Not only in the venue itself, but in the surrounding parklands and streets, residential areas, pretty much from the train station through. We're just here to make sure everyone has a good time and just a safe time here.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
They need to check them before they use them to make sure there's no damage, and when they are using them, make sure they're keeping things at least 1 metre away from all heating appliances.
Caves Beach turned it on for day one of the IRB Premiership Series. Calm, clear conditions ideal for the 290 surf lifesavers who will line up over the weekend. The competition is based around the real-life rescues performed by these crews over the summer patrol season, each performed in around 3 minutes.
In the autumn to winter months, these guys go out and compete mimicking that type of activity. We really have put this in place so they can build their skills and come closer together as a club.
Home club Caves Beach is a real chance in this series, proving impressive in the opening heats.
The swell means a lot. A good start off the beach, so a decent run. You want to do everything perfect, so you want to have good speed, you want to do your turns well, you want to pick up people properly and have a good run in.
The home club, Caves Beach, is quite a formidable team, as well as Kiama Downs are the reigning champions.
The series moves south to Mollymook next weekend with the Blue Ribbon event at Southwest Rocks in July.
It's so much fun. It's a little bit cold towards the July months, but you get over it, put a jacket on, we have fun.
the goal is to come to Newcastle fighting for the championship, and that's the goal. But at the moment we're going okay. Some very quick guys and girls out there, and we're just trying to do our best.
Max Wake has lived his life on the land and he's seen it all.
I rode a horse every day up until about 1972.
Nowadays, Max gets around on one of these, a quad bike. A vital part of farming life, but also potentially deadly.
I am a bit surprised, yeah, but it is happening and you can't get away from facts.
These are not toys. They are dangerous tools. They're critical for farm life.
In July last year, the state government offered a rebate to riders who underwent a safety course. Today, it went one further.
We're rolling out a free training package and a free helmet for those that access the training package, saving farmers up to $230.
And perhaps ultimately, their lives. Since 2011, 113 people have died from quad bike accidents across Australia, 32 of those here in New South Wales.
In the last 2 months, we've seen 5 deaths. One death is one too many.
I think there's a level of comfortability amongst the farming community to be able to go out on these quad bikes.
But there's one thing policies and funding packages can't buy.
And that's common sense. Don't do stupid things on it.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
The offer is not made out of the generosity of anybody's heart. What we are seeing here is a push involving interests that we can't see, and it will involve an outcome that will benefit some at the expense of many.
It's not every day you get to jump inside a hawk or walk through a wedgetail. But the Williamtown RAF base opened its doors to the public to raise funds and awareness for the New South Wales Kids in Need Foundation. Visitors were asked to donate as much as they wanted for the chance to check out some impressive hardware. Funds raised today will go towards helping people like Josh. The 5-year-old has muscular dystrophy, but it doesn't stop him dreaming big. Would you ever want to be a pilot one day? It'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Around 800 people came through the gates today, all made possible by more than 100 Williamtown Defence personnel who volunteered their time.
I think the kids, if you look around, are having a great time, and that's what this is really about. It's about us being able to give to a very noble charity, but also to give something back to our community.
Alex Heinke, NBN News.
What's your crocheting expertise like?
It's pretty limited. I can do a blanket, but I can't really progress much further than that, so maybe I'll get some pointers.
It started so well. But the tide quickly turned through none other than Jared Hayne. The home side simply had too much possession, the young Knights outfit enduring 15-minute periods without even touching the ball.
That weight of possession kills us with our development of our younger players, and some players who were outstanding in the first half look like they're not good players in the second half.
Doing so much more tackling, we can't execute our plans in attack because we're just physically stuffed. We're not up to executing our plan to the best of our ability. So it does suck the juice out, and it does wreck with our players mentally.
There were costly errors and 6 unanswered second half tries.
Our issue is that with our development, we find it hard to swing the momentum, and we lose that much juice, and our attacking game does really fall. And then some of the tries at the end they got were just a reward for just so much possession.